So today we are going to be looking at how to add fractions with 1, a common denominator, and 2, fractions with different denominators. So let's first ask the question, what is a denominator? So a denominator is the bottom of the number in a fraction. So for example, let's take 1 over 4. The denominator in this fraction would be 4. Again, let's look at this example. The denominator in this fraction, 7 over 23, is 23. So now we've established that, we can move on to looking at how to figure out the answer to these type of questions. So let's start with the left-hand side and look at question 1. It's asking us, what is 1 over 4 plus 2 over 4? So as we can see, the numbers in the denominator of both these fractions is the same. So we can simply write 4 in our answer fraction. So when the denominators are the same and you have to add the two fractions, the denominator in the answer will also be the same. And the next step is simply adding the two numbers at the top of the fraction together. So you do 1 plus 2 equals 3. So 1 over 4 plus 2 over 4 equals 3 over 4. So just to summarise and recap that, we have left the denominator in the answer the same, and we've simply added the two numbers called the numerator. When it's at the top of the fraction, the number at the top of the fraction is called a numerator, and the number at the bottom of the fraction is called a denominator. So we simply add the two numerators together. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So let's move on to the example at the bottom. So what can we see here? Well done. The denominators in both of these fractions are the same. So we can simply go ahead and put 23 as our denominator in the answer. Put the divide line. So what do? Can you remember? Excellent. So you add 9 plus 7, or 7 plus 9, same thing, and you get 16 over 23. 7 over 23 plus 9 over 23 equals 16 over 23. So that's how you would add fractions with a common denominator. You 1, put the denominator at the bottom, and then you simply add the top numerators together to get your answer fraction. Now let's move on to the right hand side. This is slightly more tricky, but not that tricky. We can overcome it. So we're adding fractions with different denominators now. So as you can see in question 2, the numbers at the bottom, the denominators, are not the same. We've got 2 over 3 plus 1 over 6. So how are we going to overcome this? Because we simply can't just add the two numbers at the top together because the numbers at the bottom are not the same. So to make them the same, we have to find the least common multiple for the numbers in the denominator. So what is the least common multiple of 3 and 6? Well, we know the answer is 6. So what you would do, another rule of thumb we need to remember before we carry on with this question, is whatever you do to the top of the fraction, you do to the bottom of the fraction as well. So if we know that the least common multiple for both of these fractions is 6, we have to multiply the first fraction by 2. So multiply the top and bottom by 2 to get 4 over, excuse my appalling handwriting, I'm still getting used to the whiteboard. So we get 4 over, because we do 2 times 2 and 3 times 2, which equals 6. So now what have we achieved? We've made the denominators the same. So we can go on and carry on writing this question out as we see it. So we've got 4 over 6, which is equivalent to 2 over 3. And then we simply have the 1 over 6 from the original question. So what would we get here? Now that we have a common denominator, we can simply add the numbers at the top of the fractions together to get 4 plus 1 equals 5 over the common denominator, 6. So just to recap that, let's go over the example at the bottom of the screen. We have 3 over 5 plus 6 over 15. So how would we approach this question? So the first step would be we need to find the least common multiple between 5 and 15 because the denominators are not the same in the question. Therefore, we cannot add the fractions together. So what would we do? We'd simply multiply 3 over 5, the top and bottom of the fractions, by 3 to get 9, 3 times 3, over 15, 5 times 3. Now we can see that 3 over 5, which is equivalent to 9 over 15, has a common denominator with 6 over 15. So we can simply go on to write the rest of the question. 9 over 15 plus 6 over 15. And that would give us, what would that give us? Well done, 15 over 15, which is equivalent to 1 whole. So what have we looked at in today's lesson? Let's quickly summarise. We've looked at adding fractions with a common denominator, which is when the bottom two numbers are the same in the fraction, so we can simply add the top of the fractions together. And we've looked at adding fractions with different denominators, so we therefore have to find the least common multiple between the two fractions, so that then we can go on to add two fractions together by adding the numerators together, as we did with question 1. So that's it for today's lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it.